And welcome to Candidates Corner on LPTV, a production of the Libertarian Party and Libertarian National Committee. Joe Bishop, Henchman, Chairman. As always, tonight we've got John Gapso on the big board. My name is Pat Ford. I'm your host, and I'm the proud chair of the Libertarian Party of Rhode Island. What do we say every week? There are a few purposes for this show. We want to give the libertarian community an opportunity to meet our wonderful down-ballot candidates. We want to challenge those candidates to incorporate what we call lunch pail voter issues into an easily accessible message through the prism of a libertarian perspective. As of equal importance, we want to take this opportunity to create a bond, a recognition between affiliates around the country and ultimately around the world that candidates who are running for office, regardless of the title, the national importance, the state, wherever, they are as important to this movement as any candidate locally. And by creating a bond, ultimately, we create a support structure between them. A few housekeeping issues tonight. This weekend, tomorrow, in fact, I believe right about now, they're getting ready to have the opening party. I wish I could be there at the Alaskan Gold Rush. Again, go to AlaskaLP.org. Tomorrow will be an astonishing session. Chrissy Wickers, and forgive me, I always mess this name up, but Sian Stevens, Tara DeSisto, Paul Robbins, Caitlin Cloven, C. Michael Pickens, Apollo Pizzell, and of course, Spike Cohen will be participating in all-day training on messaging, development, communications, social media. It's all going to be there. If you haven't signed up, I believe you still can. The digital price tag is only $25 for some of the more powerful libertarian candidates / trainers / campaign trainers literally in the nation. So if you can, spend a little bit of time tomorrow and, of course, help support the Libertarian Party of Alaska. So tonight, we're going to take a little bit of a different approach. We mix things up in the sort of the off season. Joining us tonight is Kristin Alexander. She is from the Indiana LP. Specifically, she has announced an exploratory committee to run for office in Madison Township inside Morgan County. Just now, we had a little bit of a lesson in Indiana geography. So tonight, we're going to talk about a candidate from the perspective of the opening stages of their campaign. And we're going to have her on a couple times during the year just to follow up and see in what direction her campaign moves, what strategies have worked, what she's been able to implement, where she's found successes, and, occasionally, where have those missed tries gone? Welcome to the show, Kristin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Pat.
So, first of all, as always, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and as always, every week we ask our candidates to give us their own personal libertarian moment when that light bulb flashed right above their head, and you realized you found a home, you found a philosophy, you'd sort of found a bit of a direction for your life in terms of your politics, in terms of your personal political philosophy. What was that moment?
I don't know if there was a specific moment, but in 2018, Lucy Brenton was running for Senate, and I was really inspired by her. It was actually the first time I'd seen a female on the Senate debate stage. I wasn't super involved in politics as a younger human. I'm only 31. Sorry. And so I was just looking for a different home. I'd been a Democrat most of my early adulthood. That's how I voted. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I started to see where they were taking control and they didn't follow through with what they said they were going to, that their actions didn't meet their ideals. And I started looking at Lucy, and she did what she said she was going to do. And she had power and passion. And no other candidate had passion like that. A friend of mine got married. Her husband's stepdad actually was he's my body person now, and for the campaign. And I said, "You're the Libertarian." And he said, "Yep." And that's kind of how it's been. I've been to almost every meeting since, and secretary of the party now. And we won the Bill Bean Award for County Affiliate of the Year at the convention a couple weeks ago. It was pretty spectacular.
No, that's wonderful. Indiana, we had Evan McMahon on our affiliate spotlight show just a few short weeks ago. Actually helped kick the show off. And Indiana is a lesson for all of us. Extensive affiliate experiences, great candidate development process, hard work being done in terms of both financial development and party and membership development. And of course, we all know about Mr. Rainwater's very successful. Ultimately, he didn't win, but ultimately very successful campaign to be the governor of the great state of Indiana, and what that did in terms of both party awareness and party strength. And so it's a success story. It's an ongoing success story. Like many of them, I would tell you, having known quite a few folks, quite a few Hoosiers, that this is one of these 25-year overnight success stories. People are seeing the work and the result of the work that's been in place for years, and it's being brought to a new level by Mr. McMahon and the latest implementation of the executive committee of the Libertarian Party. So great work starting years ago. Mark Rutherford has been a frequent contributor to a lot of the efforts up here in the Northeast. Yes, I said that, in the Northeast. A gentleman whose reach and philosophical strength weighs in across the country. In terms of your background and getting into the party, now it's funny you mentioned, abashedly that you were a Democrat. Full disclosure, and I've done this a couple of times, I'm probably one of the few people who you met who not only did and will admit to having worked for the committee for the re-election of the president. Of course, I'm talking about Richard Milhous Nixon in 1972. So as a 12-year-old, I have that to overcome. So don't worry about the Democratic part. Talk to me about your part of Indiana. You gave us a little bit of an overview, but what industry is important? Where are you relative in terms of geography, and what industries and issues reign supreme in Madison County?
And
Madison Township in Morgan County. Excuse me.
There are so many issues with Madison Township, but Indiana, our county, it's incredibly red. I don't even remember the last time a Democrat was elected in the county. So I really kind of hate seeing that our constituents don't have any choice. Out here, we got a lot of farmers. We have some manufacturing. We're only about 30 minutes outside of the city. So a lot of people that work up at Eli Lilly, they live out here. We're half and half, really. We're really affluent and we're really poor. There's no in between out here.
And in the sense of manufacturing, is it hosted within the county, or are you more of a bedroom suburb?
We have some manufacturing out here. We actually have a large processing plant called Nice Pack. They make a lot of baby wipes and wet wipes. They're really booming right now because of COVID, all of the additional cleaning supplies that have been needed. So they're expanding out here and bringing a lot of jobs. But mostly we're a service township, just like everywhere else.
Interesting. And the agricultural area, what's the primary crop? Are they small sort of gentleman farms, or are they more industrial style?
Definitely the smaller gentleman farms. A lot of the farmers out here, I've grown up with them. They've been out in this area their whole lives, and they're never going to leave, and their families are going to take it over when they're gone.
Interesting. Any particular crops, or is it, and what role does, for example, government support and price protections play in that?
I'm not 100% sure on those issues where we've received subsidies and things like that. Mostly we have a lot of dairy farmers, and their crops usually are for feeding their livestock and their cattle. Let's see. I would say it's mostly dairy. We have a couple pig farmers actually too.
Excellent. And so in terms of issues that matter right now, so you're running for local office, and that's really the specialty of our focus here, because as we mentioned so often, you'll have the opportunity, depending on where you decide to target your efforts, to really impact a lot of lives, and for many people to be the first elected libertarian that, and we don't use the word govern here, that you've involved in stewarding, if you will, community efforts. So how has COVID been to the community? And what are the the individual reactions to, if you will, the government's involvement and oversight of COVID?
I would say that the oversight of COVID is the biggest issue out here. That's all anybody talks about anymore. It's masks this and masks that, and they don't want them. They're very upset about the mandate. Donald Rainwater got 23% of the vote in Morgan County, which is spectacular. It's double what he got in most of the other counties out here because people are so very concerned about their personal rights and choices out here.
And what, how are people evoking their opposition, and what are they basing it on? Is it the absence of science? Is it the personal frustration, or is it just, I'm trying to get a sense of what voters and what folks are like out there, or is it just the intrusion into everyday
really
life?
The intrusion. Madison Township voters are really concerned about intrusion because our local government, our small 3-person board and trustee, they work really close with the fire department and make a lot of decisions without talking to anybody in the township. We don't make waves. Our board doesn't listen. They do kind of whatever they're told to do by the county government.
Interesting. And so are elections, are they well attended? Are they, what type of voter participation have you seen in terms of actual percentages, but also in just the engagement people have with the electoral process?
Well, of course, in 2018, there was a large turnout. Out of about 10,000 voters, we saw about 4,500 come out. It was pretty intense. And they range all over. They're younger and they're older. Not so much middling. We don't see a lot of Gen X out in Madison Township. I think that's because they all ran away.
Now, and that's interesting because the Sasha Cohen, as I'm not sure if you know Sasha, just had some success in Illinois, and he did so specifically by targeting both the issues and the humor, sense of humor, if you will, of folks, mid-30s and younger, and got a significant turnout on what it was typically a quiet election because of his direct connection with them. Is your county, is it an older county? Is it a mixed bag? Do people stay there and grow up after they've grown up, and or do you have that sort of flight to the big city like you do in places out here in New England?
We're a legacy county for sure. Morgan County Special Ed, it's home of Mooresville, which is the home of the state flag in Indiana. We have a lot of long-time families. Hadley's a popular name out here. You know people and you know their whole family, and they never leave.
Interesting. So you're thinking about running for office here. You've formally established an exploratory committee. And so there's certain rules that we have to kind of observe in terms of what that means, both for election law standards and other such stuff, the kind of stuff that, of course, always excites libertarians. What do you think is missing right now from the governmental picture in Indiana, or what is there too much of? What has either provoked you, irritated you, or astounded you enough so that you're considering a run for office?
Specifically, why I decided to run for office was at the very beginning, right before COVID hit, I'd say in 2020, they held a Fire Township territory meeting. I went, it was the first meeting I had attended in Madison Township, and they railroaded about 100 different people. They didn't know what they were talking about. They did things behind their back. There's no communication between our public servants and the people who elected them. We have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. We had a Madison Township board member throw somebody out of the meeting because she didn't like what he had to say. She threatened to vote for the territory merge to spite us because she was mad that we were yelling at them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's Republican, if you will.
Control. They just they have all the power. They want all the control. They do not care. They are not your public servants. They are your nannies to hold your hand.
Authoritarianism is alive and well, even in the verdant foothills of Indiana. Is that what you're telling me?
I think it was born here.
Oh, wow. So how much control in Indiana is given to localities in terms of the response to the pandemic, as opposed to how much has been grabbed, if you will, in the almost typical power grab by the state?
I would say the county has a decent amount of power. The township doesn't have as much, but the county they have a fair shake.
Right. So in Indiana, very much you've got a state level government, you've got representatives to the General Assembly and slash legislature, you've got a county government, and then you've got a local government.
Correct.
What the hell do they do all day?
Raise our taxes. That's all they want to do so that they can fund their vacations.
How are taxes? I mean, everyone will always complain about their taxes everywhere, but say your taxes relative to other parts of Indiana, is it all the same and just too high, or do you find a lot of money going into the deepest, darkest recesses of government?
Our tiny township, which if you looked on the map and you saw Weiser, it's just that little corner up there, gets $1.8 million in budget in a year for fire and township assistance. Mm-hmm. I think that's a lot of money for 10,000 people, if you ask me. But our township has the 19th highest tax rate in the state. Mm-hmm. And I would say, I mean, my property taxes, they're not terrible, but the property values aren't great either. So, it's give and take there. And the people that do have higher property values, we have a couple $1 million homes out in Madison Township. Their taxes are kind of exorbitant and ridiculous. And they just want to raise them again.
What are they spending it on? I mean, how are schools funded, if you will, from what you know, and what? I mean, are schools run by the county? Are they run by the township?
Schools are county run.
So you're paying property taxes to the township, and then the counties, are they collecting taxes as well to run the schools, or is that through the state?
The county collects the tax, and then they'll distribute some to the township. So they collect the big tax, and then the township gets their little bit. Our tax dollars for the township specifically are to fund the fire and EMS department and township assistance. So your light bill, if you need assistance in the winter, all of that.
Wow. How are the schools? How is the quality of education, have you found?
I love it.
In the corner of Indiana.
I went to school at North Madison Elementary. My kids go to school at North Madison Elementary. The teachers are amazing there. Mm-hmm. They work really hard. They're good.
How do your kiddos feel about mom being involved in politics, mom and dad? It's what's their reaction? Are they interested and involved already?
My 4-year-old, she learned today what a podcast is. She's pretty interested in it. She helped me write some thank you cards to some donors a couple weeks ago. My 10-year-old doesn't care about anything but Roblox and Minecraft. And my 8-year-old asked if I was running for president.
And you said next year.
I told him I'm not old enough yet.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about other issues in Indiana. First of all, where does medical cannabis stand in Indiana, and where does cannabis legalization stand?
Cannabis legalization will not happen in Indiana. We will be the last dry state.
Really?
I full-heartedly believe that. I would think Kentucky will legalize it before us. I think they already do have some form of medical, and we're not even going there. We have Eli Lilly. We don't want to rock the boat with our pharmaceutical company.
Wow. So not even medical cannabis at this point?
Oh, no, nothing. Every time it gets brought up, it's immediately shot down.
Wow. And then how do, in your community, how do folks react to, if you will, the issues surrounding urban policing? Is your policing done by the county, or do you actually have a township police department? No,
we're state and county policed. We're not in the metro Mooresville area, so their police officers do not serve us at Madison Township. We love our police officers. We haven't had issues. We don't have shootings out here, though. I don't know what my local constituents think. I know what I think, and I think Spike said it best on Kennedy the other day. We need to reform them, and we need to bring it back more locally, and we need to get the federal government out of them.
So you folks have a real connection to not only just the members of your police force, but the manner in which they conduct themselves?
I would like to think that we do. A lot of the people in Madison Township know the police officers personally, so they have that one-on-one knowledge and relationships with them. But I do not have those relationships with them. I know that I have some neighbors that have been in trouble with the law many times, and I wish the law would go a little step further.
Right. And bring it down to a hyper local control. Yeah. No, I think what's great about being a libertarian in the year 2021, despite all the challenges, despite the chaos, despite COVID, is that, and I'd love your reaction to this. Number one, the governmental reaction to COVID has been pretty much proof of concept for the Libertarian Party. And number two, we're so much bolder about our comfort level discussing issues like community policing and the need to re-engineer our police department. And we're so much bolder about issues that, polite politics didn't talk about so many years ago. What as someone who's relatively new to the party, but you've got a family and a career and the complicated life that anyone has, what's your reaction to that? Do you think we need to be more provocative and just not confrontational, but be more plain spoken about our attitudes?
I definitely think we do. I think that if we can't tell people what we believe, then there's no point in us going out and talking to them. We shouldn't beat around the bush. And I think every single one of my constituents can relate to me, and I can relate their issues and their concerns back, and how libertarian solutions can fix those.
Excellent. So now, again, this is kind of a unique show in that you formally haven't decided, A, to run for office, and I'm speaking in the generic legal terms, and B, specifically what you're running for yet. And you're going to be going through a little bit of a process. This will be a public process, so we're not, giving away any campaign secrets per se. What are some of the steps that you're going to go through now in the coming weeks to assess where you're going to place your efforts, and when is the actual election going to take place?
So the election is November 2022. So I've got all of this year and most of next year to really drive my face home and nail my name into their heads until they dream it. They want to. So my first goal is to go out and I want to knock doors. I want to find out why people are upset. I know they're upset. I saw 100 people upset a year ago, and they still are. And I want to know what they're upset about. I want to know who they're upset with and how I can best help affect change.
That's outstanding. I mean, so in a sense, you're going to go on a listening tour and actively engage with the community. As it's almost like a cooperative process in how you're going to run for office. You're going to direct your energies not to necessarily what your dream job is, but you're going to direct your energies, in a sense, as a reaction to what other folks in the community feel where the work needs to be done. Yeah,
you could say my dream job would be to serve them, because that's what I think a politician should be. It's a public servant. I'm not here for me. I'm not here to push my agendas. I'm here to help my community be better and do it in a fiscally responsible way that's also held accountable.
Yeah, somebody a lot smarter than me, but I've been perfectly content to steal their kind of saying. They pointed out to me once that public life and public service was to be for the benefit, to help people get lives, not get one themselves. And I think that kind of sums it up. Where does work need to be done, as opposed to where do people need to pose to act like they're doing the work that they want done. Where do you think this is going to go? What's your spidey sense tell you, in a sense of what people's emotions are right now? By the way, has there been any attempt? It was announced today in the state of New Hampshire by the governor that they're finally dropping their mask mandate. And I want to point out, I want to be very careful about this. I don't know of a libertarian who isn't respectful, if you will, in the medical sense of this disease. I don't know of any libertarian who doesn't understand that it represents a threat to a segment of the population, and that there's been tragedy associated with it. But at the same time, we need to question authority, and we need to understand what the motivating factors for their government's behavior have been, and whether or not, quite frankly, it's worked or not.
Yeah. Why can't our government trust us to make good decisions, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, let's move past masks for a second. In terms of business closures, how were you impacted by it, and how much of that was driven by the federal government, the state government, and your local government?
All of our closures were driven by the state government. I don't think anything in Morgan County would have closed down at all if Holcomb hadn't said we had to. There were a couple businesses that we lost, but Morgan County stuck together. We supported each other. Some businesses never closed. So those businesses that didn't close, they closed their doors to the public, but they were still ordering in lunches from nearby restaurants. We kept a lot of them open and they thrived. They did better than other years. The mask mandate has been dropped here in Indiana. Morgan County is no longer requiring it. All the signs say recommended instead of required now. So I love that because people are still doing it. I think people, nobody just said, oh, screw it. The requirement's gone. I'm not going to care about other people anymore. People are still wearing the masks because people always would have worn them just to be considerate of others. We shouldn't need a government to tell us what to do and how to do it. Mm-hmm. But as far as business closures, we've been blessed, honestly.
Mm-hmm. So how will you do this survey? Is this something you're going to do in person? Are you going to submit a written survey? Is it going to be web-based? And are people comfortable yet now, you literally doing old school door knocking, going to their homes?
I think people are comfortable with doing old school door knocking. If they're not, I'll move right on. I do want to do it across all 3 platforms. I want to put something in paper, I want to put something online, and I want to do door knocks.
It's interesting because that's a great approach. What we have found out here in the Northeast is that government is implementing and weaponizing technology in order to, in a sense, I'll say, gather up predetermined, well-orchestrated results. And by definition, they're leaving segments of the population behind, those folks who do not have easy internet access. And it's still out there. There are a lot of marginalized communities where, poverty is real. And then you've got older folks, as we call them, seasoned citizens. Yeah, they're just simply not comfortable. We've got a state that has organized a vaccine rollout completely around the web, where a significant part of the population that needs to be vaccinated, in their minds, quickly, the older folks who may have comorbidities, who want to be vaccinated, can't be reached. Are you taking that into account in terms of your initial rollout?
Absolutely. Madison Township is full of people from all walks of life. And there's people I went to school with, and there's people that are their parents and they still live out here. And I know people, I worked at a local gas station around here. A lot of people aren't comfortable with technology. They don't like giving out that information. I want to go sit down and have coffee with the guys in the morning at the market and see what they have to say. I see them every morning when I go in. I talk to them about the issues. And I get to know them, and they get to know me. When do you think, and maybe you can explain to us how campaign laws work in Indiana? By the way, I find it fascinating that there are no limits on campaign donations in Indiana. And when we do our last segment of the show tonight, I'm going to ask people to remember that, because the entire country can donate to Indiana Hoosier campaign efforts without any sort of state, if you will, intervention at all, from what I understand. And if you donate less than $100, I don't even need your name.
Excellent. But what's going to be that crystallizing moment, and when do you have to, per se, make your nomination? Does one event trigger you? And for example, asking for campaign or receiving campaign contributions, does that trigger any level of formal announcement?
So I can ask for committee contributions to the exploratory committee once I declare my candidacy for whichever position I choose. Then I need to file a new CFA as a candidate.
Mm-hmm. And how long do you have to do that to? I mean, could you literally do that up until the deadline for filing?
I have until June of next year, right? I believe I have until June of 2022. My plan is to get it out there right at primaries time, though, so I can go knock on doors. I want them to know that there's a candidate that they're going to meet in May that's still going to be there in November.
Mm-hmm. And what is the ballot? So to explain to people who may not be familiar with Indiana's status, per se, what is the ballot status of the Indiana Libertarian Party? We
have ballot access, and we've had ballot access since 1994.
Excellent. And in order to maintain that,
we have to get 3% in the Secretary of State's race.
Mm-hmm. And I think Mark Rutherford ran for that.
He did
a couple of years ago.
He keeps us on the ballot.
he is in fact Superman. He's a super. What's the old line? Not all heroes wear capes. Somewhere
Suspenders.
really cool eyeglasses, and carry a lawyer's portfolio with him. It's just how you work. I don't know if they still have phone booths in downtown Indianapolis, but he's probably going to jump out of one soon. So you've got ballot access. You don't have to worry about that. You just have to get a minimum of petition signatures on a local petition just to get on the race.
I don't think I even need to do that. I just need to file my CFA, and then I am on the ballot, and it is a pick 3. So I'm not straight ticket voting won't affect me at all. Mm-hmm. They have to pick my name. They will pick my name.
You will make it so. No, that's outstanding. We see the early start as being a critical point for so many candidacies. You've got a year and a half or so to play with. Are the duopoly candidates out there already? And what is the makeup of your current government?
Madison Township is 3 Republicans and a Republican. So we have 3 on the board and 1 trustee. 2 of those Republicans were actually caucused in. 2 of our elected officials are no longer on the board. So we're actually only being represented by 2 elected officials currently.
Oof. Wow. Are they ready for a libertarian out there? Do they sense the threat that's coming? They
know. I started going to the meetings and recording them. I have lots to say. I said a lot at the fire territory meeting last February. Mm-hmm. They know I'm out and I'm coming. And I have talked to them a little about, some ideas that, they should probably start considering doing this if they want to have a chance. Mm-hmm. But I think that coming out, I might have actually scared the lady I wanted to run against all.
You didn't make her cry, did you?
I might have, but not in front of me. I don't know what she did when she went home that day. I just told her plain, clear, and simple that you don't get to throw somebody out of a meeting because they called you a bad name. That's your job now. You have to have a thick skin. You have to be able to represent your people no matter what, even when they're mad at you.
So in the past, how many votes would you have needed to have won the election, roughly? And how many registered voters are there, roughly?
I have these numbers. If you just bear with me.
It's on the screen.
Oh, it's on the screen, he says. Let's see. My win number is 2,688 votes. If I get that, I'm a shoo-in. I would like to get a solid 3,000, but I don't know how many people are going to come out and vote in a midterm year.
Right. And have they incorporated some of the newfangled voting techniques where you can just, seemingly in some parts of the nation, you can just use a crayon to write on a ballot and mail it in? Is early voting available and as well as all these just different extended mail-in variations?
I do not believe that we have extended any kind of mail-in ballot voting, but we do have early voting, and we've had that for quite some time. We also have the ability to vote at any precinct in the county, so we don't have to just go to our own precincts. They've made it a lot more accessible in the last few years here in Moore County.
Yeah, Jared Hall has just made a challenge. He has challenged the audience, if you will, that he has made a $100 contribution to your campaign. And he's willing to do some type of match. Maybe I challenge people to match my $100 donation to Kristin. Excellent. That's what we want to see in this. And because will this be your very first election?
This is my first, yes.
Excellent. And is there a tradition of lawn signs and door hangers and
lawn signs are near and dear to our heart in Morgan County.
Again, there's the advantage of lawn signs, I believe, is shock and awe, particularly for someone who's running for the first time for an insurgent political organization, insurgent political philosophy like the Libertarian Party. All of a sudden, we start getting lawn signs for Kristin all over our township. People are going to, and this is the incredible halo effect that takes place when someone runs for hyper-local office, because the first question is, what's the difference between a Libertarian and a Republican? Let me put you on the spot a little bit. If someone asks you, and just out of just for not being familiar. One of the challenges of being a libertarian is that we often live inside with our own bubble, and we all have our amen choir and a little bit of an echo chamber, just like in many political movements. But because we're in a growth mode, because there are entire parts of this country that have until recently not had a libertarian affiliate, they may not simply really have an understanding. So if someone on the campaign trail said to you, well, Kristin, tell me, what's a libertarian? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say that a libertarian is a candidate that's here for your personal rights and freedoms, that we want to be accountable and hold others accountable, that we're actually fiscally responsible. We don't just say it. We know how to balance a budget. I would say that the difference between Republicans, first, libertarian is not a liberal. I have to make that very clear out here because they don't know the difference. And at least they didn't until Don Rainwater. And,
right.
And, but the biggest difference between the Republicans and the libertarians is that we don't want to tell you what to do with your life. That we think that it's okay for you to do what you want to do. We're very conservative out here, and I'm very libertarian. So, as marriage equality, it's still a big issue out here, even though it's a non-issue. People can get married. And so that's where I said, I'm the Republican that lets you marry your boyfriend and smoke weed.
So, and what do you think the reaction of that'll be? Will it be, particularly if you can motivate younger voters, will it be just sort of a sigh of relief? Just kind of an acknowledgement that you're all just like everybody else? You're just a little bit more, you're a little bit more out front about it?
Yeah.
Or do you think there is perhaps on a generational basis, if someone's intimidated by that? I always prescribe the Larry Sharp method, of course, which is to plant that seed, not have to feel you have to win the argument. But, folks who are older, do you think that they're open to that in your township? Or is that something that's going to have to be almost overcome, particularly if Republicans play up that angle, if you will, that wouldn't be prudent. We don't know if we can trust each other. How do you react to that?
I think it's something that'll have to be overcome. I really do. I think that I'll have to prove that it's not about party. It's about principle, and that nobody inside their party in Madison Township has followed their principles or in any way, shape, or form. They're just spendthrift. They just do with the money whatever they want to do. They don't ask for it. They raise our taxes. I think that's going to be the biggest sticking point in Madison Township is taxes and fiscal responsibility. And then, I'm just going to tell people, I don't really care what you do in your own home. It's not my business and it's not the government's business. I'm here to do what you want me to do, not what I want you to do.
Outstanding. And finally, the mechanics of the election itself. Now, how many folks do you have in your local affiliate? What type of organization? And are other candidates contemplating a run in your general area within the purview of your affiliate? And are they ready to roll? Are they ready to get, again, weaponized for liberty?
My local affiliate is a bunch of rock stars. We are the best team I could ever dream to have behind me. There are a couple other people within the affiliate that are considering running in 2022. One of them also in Madison Township with me, and the other one out in Clay Township. We have 22 members. We have 22 members currently. 2 years ago, we had 3.
Wow.
We are growing. There's Anna. She's our treasurer. She's our fiery redhead. She keeps us all in line. She is the mom of the group. But I would love to see her run. She's actually currently appointed to the Board of Zoning Appeals in Martinsville right now. That's Eric. He's our field outreach. He was also considering running for office. And then Chris Galt there. That's my campaign manager. He's the best campaign manager I could ever ask for. And he is beyond ready to hit the ground running. He's run a couple campaigns before here in Indiana. He knows what he's doing, and we're well prepared. We're working on messaging, campaign goals. We just had a 6-hour-long campaign meeting a Saturday. It was very productive. So We're ready.
That's very important. A lot of folks, they evoke two ideas which are noble in purpose, but often impact them negatively as a campaign moves on. Number one, a lot of folks don't want to raise money for the campaign. Dan Fishman put it to me very well. He mentioned that people, when they have an investment, and sometimes that means a financial investment, particularly if you're not local, in your campaign, they take it seriously. They embrace it in a manner which is not possible without that connection. And he pointed out also how critically important the role of the campaign manager is, not just for the obvious reasons, for the organizational purposes, but the notion that you're able to focus extensively on messaging, meeting voters, and just being a professional candidate and allowing someone to be sort of a buffer for you to keep you focused on that which is important and to be ready every single day to go out and do something to develop your candidacy. And without a team behind you, or however local the role is, it's simply impossible to do that. And the important thing, as you guys are clearly focusing on, is to get that effort out early, which is why we wanted to meet you tonight, because when we got the chance for you to fill in, and we realized that we could actually start in every few months and follow a campaign through its initial stages, and then ultimately, as it gets closer to the campaign, to have you on again to just talk about the progress you've made, where you found challenges. I think that's going to be fascinating to a lot of people.
I hope it helps people learn the process so we get more candidates out there. They can see that it's not as hard as it looks.
Right. So if you imagine this, the fields of your township, town, local residents, and driving to work or driving with your family out to do your grocery shopping. And as you drive along, you see Libertarian candidate for township, Libertarian candidate for General Assembly, Libertarian candidate for governor, Libertarian candidate, and what that impact has on just developing just at least even a primary interest by the voter in understanding what we stand for. Folks need to understand that we're not going to convert everyone to being a libertarian. But what we do need them to do is convert them to being a voter for our candidates. And that may not mean you have to be in lockstep with everything we do. But by promoting stewardship, by promoting this type of responsive government that you're talking about, that's a message that people are hungry for. And they're desperately hungry for. So I'm thrilled with what you're doing. I love the notion of reaching out to the community and getting that early buy-in as to what approach you should take and what you should run for. I think that's a unique idea, but I think it's got a lot of legs, and we're going to be fascinated to see how it turns out. I have nothing but high expectations for what your group could do there in your county. Now, this is the part of the show we talked about earlier before we came on the air. I want you to engage in shameless self-promotion. Tell folks how they can support you, how they can reach out to you. Through the beauty and the miracle of IP addresses in the digital world, folks can even volunteer for you as we get closer to the election from around the country. So what roles do you envision, and how can they help out right now?
I'm going to need as many people as I possibly can to help me get out there and knock on doors. So if you're local, find us on Facebook, Morgan County Libertarian Party, Morgan LPIN. And then if you add a little /Alexander, that's where you'll find my drop page, and you find my donate button. We do have a monthly donation option. It is not pre-clicked. So if you want to go ahead and click that on your own and give me a monthly donation, there's a little something special in it for you. I can make that happen. And then I also have a PayPal, Lady4, the number 4, Liberty, where you can donate as well. My goal is $5,000. I want to have $1.50 for every vote, and I want to have enough money to be able to throw my team a big party, because they already kick major ass, and they're going to deserve all the beer and bourbon I can get.
Wow, can I come too?
You absolutely can, Pat.
Right.
And I'm not buying your plane ticket.
Kristin Alexander, she is in the exploratory stages, and this is what's fascinating to me, the exploratory stages, if you will, of running for office in her hometown, Madison Township, which is inside Morgan County in the great state of Indiana. One of the top affiliates in the nation, not just in what they were able to accomplish on behalf of Donald Rainwater and his run for the governorship of Indiana, but also the way that they've been able to literally expand, blow up affiliates across the state of Indiana. Anyone who spent any time in Indiana understands what a complex state it is, as are so many of the big states in America. You've got a rural component, you've got big business, you've got big finance, multiple media markets, a strong Republican tradition that you need to overcome. And there's a complacency there that has allowed big government to not only foster, but fester, if you will, the type of failed state that is so common around the country. The state of Indiana does a wonderful job of a lot of things. Imagine what it could do if they were allowed to, well, see freedom in our lifetime. It's an astonishing prospect. Listen, but before I say goodnight to Kristin, I just want to remind people one more time. I've done this every week tirelessly because I believe in what they're doing. The folks in Alaska are having an astonishing event tomorrow. Really, it represents the efforts of the Alaskan Libertarian Party in conjunction with some of the top talents, campaign talents in the nation. You can do this virtually for just a $25 contribution to the Alaskan Libertarian Party. I believe signups are still there. But again, if I could just run it down, Chrissy Wickers, Sean Stevens, Tara DeSisto, Paul Robbins, Caitlin Cloven, C. Michael Pickens, Apollo Pozell, and of course, some would say the spiritual leader, if you will, of the political election wing of the Libertarian Party, none other than the Spike Cohen. Sign up. Listen, even if you can only spend a few hours tomorrow, it's a lineup that's worth your investment of time. Kristin, thanks again for joining us. I know one of the challenges in doing this show every week is that people make commitments and then life happens. And I think we've just we met quickly today and through the efforts of Jared Hall and lining up a couple of, I think, folks coming up in the future. And I want to thank him for his efforts in getting a new guest lined up for it. But I think we've inadvertently stumbled into an interesting formula. And again, I just want to present this over time. We'll just kind of touch base with Kristin and just see what direction she's taking her campaign, her exploratory campaign, and continue to follow up as the campaign develops. She's got a campaign team in place. And I think it bodes wonderful things for the good people of Indiana. Congratulations for all your efforts, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Pat. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
All right, folks. This, of course, we're going to sign off tonight. This is Candidates Corner on LPTV, a production of the Libertarian Party and Libertarian National Committee. Joe Bishop, Henchman Chairman. John Gapso, as always, on the big board. I thank him. His tireless efforts, a couple of nights a week to volunteer here for LPTV. He's the one who puts up the graphics and the fun maps and the local newspaper issues and all of that kind of stuff through his research. I'm your host, Pat Ford. It is an honor to work alongside, I believe, the future, not just of the libertarian movement, not just of the libertarian philosophy, but the future leaders of our nation. I will tell you every week that there are people that we will meet through this show that will be our future senators, and I am convinced that one of the folks that we're going to interview there this year will run for the presidency of these United States and might even win. Have a wonderful night. Join us Monday night on LPTV. In fact, join us every night on LPTV, as we've got programming every night. We've got a wonderful show that works with the at-large candidates. We've got folks working in the Hispanic community from around the world with the Libertarian movement. Monday night, we have the Affiliate Spotlight. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on LPTV and the Libertarian Party Facebook page. Thanks again. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you Monday night.